Welcome students. In today's session we are going to see about usability testing and user satisfaction testing. So what is an usability testing? What are the guidelines we have to perform an usability testing? What that we will see first. And in the second you will be seeing about user satisfaction testing and what are the guidelines we have to perform this user satisfaction testing. So these are the things we are going to see in today's session. First is quality. Quality of a software is that it defines the ability of the software product to meet the user needs and expectation. So quality, high quality software in the sense it provides all the requirements or it satisfies all the expectation of the user. So the quality in the sense its ability to meet the user's requirement. You have two main issues when we are measuring the quality. One is we have to perform validation, next is we have to perform verification. Validation in the sense you have to perform user satisfaction testing. So if the software satisfies the user satisfaction testing, then the software is validated. Then again, if you have conducted any quality assurance test and if the software has qualified this quality assurance test, then your software is said to be verified. So you have to validate and you have to verify your software to provide a good quality software. Usability testing is different from quality assurance testing because in quality assurance testing you will be testing the program defects, whereas in usability testing you will be testing the interface what you have used in your software to make the user to communicate with the system. So you will be testing the interfaces and the software that fits the use cases. So usability testing is different from the quality assurance testing. First you will be seeing about usability testing. According to ISO, International Standard for Organization, the ISO defines usability testing as it is an effectiveness or efficiency or satisfaction with which a specified set of user can achieve a specific test of task. This user has to achieve this task. So the usability testing defines the quality or the effectiveness or the efficiency or satisfaction of the system when some set of user is trying to get some set of task. So first when we are performing usability testing, we have to define the task what we are going to expect from the system, and we have to define the user who is going to use the system, and then you have to define the measuring units which is used to measure the effectiveness and efficiency and satisfaction of the system. Usability testing measures the ease of use as well as the degree of comfort and satisfaction the user have with the software. So usability testing measures the satisfaction of the user. The usability testing can be explained with this diagram. Here, usability testing uses the use case model what we have obtained in the object-oriented analysis phase. So using this object-oriented analysis phase use cases, you have to develop the quality assurance test cases, and then you have to perform the user satisfaction testing test cases, and the last you have to perform the usability test cases. So all these test cases will be coming under the test plan. So during the test plan, when we are developing the test plan, you have to develop quality assurance test cases, user satisfaction test cases and usability test cases. So all these test cases can be applied on the use cases of the object oriented analysis phase, and when we are performing all these things you can able to attain the usability satisfaction testing. You have some guidelines for developing the usability testing. Usability testing can be done as a walkthrough in which we will be taking the users through some set of sample scenarios, and we will be asking about their impressions about how the software is working for those scenarios. You have one technique called Wizard of Oz. In Wizard of Oz technique, you will be testing a specialist that simulates the interaction of interface. So you will be testing a specialist so that you will be testing about the interaction between the interfaces. Next you have to your usability testing has to include all the software components what you are needed for the testing, and your usability testing should not be very expensive or elaborate. You can use some very cheap tape recorder, stopwatch and notepad for testing. Next is you have to use the rule that is 6 to 10% of the participants should be able to identify 80 to 90% of the design problem. So you have to keep this rule in mind. So by keeping this rule in mind, you have to select the participants and you have to test this software to identify the 80 to 90% design problems. Next is you have to experience the software. That means the user has to experience the software and he or she has to share about software reusability part, which part can be reused and which part cannot be reused. All that has to be told from the user's experience. Then we have to apply reusability testing in a very early stage, and we have to apply this usability testing often when we are developing the product continuously in our developing phases. Then next thing we are going to see about is recording the usability testing. To record the test what we are doing, to record this usability testing, you need a good environment so that users will be able to comfortably do the testing and record the difficulties what they have in the software. Next is always record the technique and search pattern. So many users will be using many techniques to search the errors in your program. So always record the technique and search pattern which are given by different users. Next, record the test results using portable tape recorders so that these test results can be taken to different places whenever we are needed. Then, to the maximum, make use of design team to involve in the environment where this usability testing is taking place. To make the design team to come and view the test when the test is going on. Next is you can measure the user satisfaction along the way as the design takes place. So whenever you are designing the software, side by side you can make the usability testing and you can record it and you can measure its quality. The next thing what we are going to see is user satisfaction testing. User satisfaction testing is the process of quantifying the usability test with some measurable attributes, such as it can be the functionality, or it can be the cost, or it can be ease, or how easy it is used to use the software. So usability test can be quantified with the help of user satisfaction testing. The main objective of user satisfaction testing is it has to act as a communication vehicle between the designers and the user. So it has to act as communication vehicle. And the next is it has to detect and evaluate the changes during the design process. So in the design process you will be developing the software. So it has to detect the changes and evaluate the changes so that usability testing can be quantified. Then it has to indicate the periodic divergence of opinion about some current design. So some users may give different opinions about the divergence in the product. So those has to be periodically indicated. Next is your user satisfaction testing has to pinpoint the areas where dissatisfaction comes from remedy. So you have to pinpoint the areas where dissatisfaction occurs and you have to take remedy for it. Next is your user satisfaction testing has to provide a clear understanding of how the completed design is to get evaluated. So all these things are the objectives for user satisfaction testing. You have some guidelines for perform user satisfaction testing. So all the user satisfaction testing have the same format, but the content over which the user satisfaction testing is performed is different. Next is you have to use the use cases for applying the use case test, user satisfaction testing. You have to use the use cases what you have developed in the object oriented analysis phase. By taking and looking upon the use cases, you can able to perform user satisfaction testing. Next is you have to work with the clients or the user to find whether the attribute, what are the attributes, whether this attribute has to be checked, whether what attributes has to be checked for quantifying the usability. To identify the attributes for checking, you have to communicate or work with the client and user. Then after identifying the attributes, you have to limit those attributes. If you are identifying some 100 attributes, you can take some 5 to 10 attributes and you can measure it to check for user satisfaction testing. So these are the guidelines for performing user satisfaction testing. Thank you students. In today's session we have seen about what is usability testing and what are the guidelines we have to perform this usability testing. So when we are performing usability testing, you can record those testing in some specialized way. So we have seen the steps to record those testing, and finally you have seen about user satisfaction testing and the objectives of user satisfaction testing as well as the guidelines what is required to develop those user satisfaction testing has been seen in this today's session. Thank you.